Just a very brief, in brief, 7x7 project was conceived in 2007, in 2009, sorry, because the idea was conceived because the previous governor, who is in jail today, closed down the last independent newspaper in the Komi Republic, which entailed a full-fledged attack against the civic activists and journalists. And then 5 persons, of which 4 were members of the Memorial Endowment, came together and thought about creating their information resource or mass medium, which was to pursue the task of shedding light on the civic activity in the Republic, in the region on the whole, in the cities and towns of it. 2 investors. We had 2 investors of these 5 who were on the board, who became the founders. One of them is the head of the Jewish Cultural National Autonomy in the Komi Republic. We are an online journal of a civic project, and this is our page, front page. Initially, we wanted to have experts represented who would comment on the important political and social events in the region, the Republic of Komi. And there was a boom for blogging, and the local bureaucrats didn't know how to cope with this. The mayor was having blogger receptions and so on and so forth. So we thought that we have to give a format and allow people to express their views with minimum trolling or with minimum comments. So we opened up in 2010, and we were telling about our project in different forum, and Sonia came to us and said that I would like a similar website in Ryazan. I live in Ryazan, she said, and at that time we thought about opening an interregional resource, and the most popular question: why is it 7x7? Well, we have a tale about 7 Jews who came together on the 7th of July of the 7th month, but it's not about that really. It's not about when we thought that this would be an expert forum with some opinion. We saw that a 49-faced quadrangle or a square, really, with 49 little face images is exactly that. It just is 7x7. So we thought that it would look like. So we thought that we would have had 7 scientists or 7 civic activists who would coming. But of course, we have a lot more than 7 authors, a lot more 7 professions represented, a lot more than 7 civic activists. However, we still have this title, which has stayed with us. Our mission is to foster the development of civil society in Russia. What is happening at our website nowadays? Please tell us more about it. Thank you. Well, now we're in good shape in 7 regions of Russia, and mostly northwest of Russia, central Russia, and the Volga region. We publish news from about 20 regions, over 1,200 bloggers, and as Maxim said, these are people who are really interested in making the lives in their regions better. Let me also make an important reservation. We do not write about cities with over 1 million inhabitants. We do not write about Moscow. We do not write about St. Petersburg or Yekaterinburg or Novosibirsk. So we have about 300,000 readership, which is not much compared to the federal mass media. But if we think that we do not read about major cities, we do not read about crimes, or we don't have criminal chronicle, and we mostly write about the rights, civic rights, and civic liberties. We believe that it's still a good readership, and this is our map of presence in Russia. And in each region, we work differently. We have regions where we only have bloggers, and there are those where we have freelancers or stringer journalists, and there are regions with full-scale editorial boards. So if we don't write about catastrophes we write about regional NGOs. We write about grassroots initiatives, civil rights, civic associations. For instance, when citizens come together to stand for their rights, to defend a park from being lumbered down, or we're also writing about things that other mass media avoid writing about. We write about social problems, and our Ryazan authors and our authors from Mari El like talking about this. This is a banner of one of our organizations, Spock, which was, by the way, made a foreign agent in Russia for its environmental activities. Well, we also have very active relations with our bloggers, and we have an unofficial rating. These are the most well-known bloggers. Svetla Kalchurina from Petrozavodsk. They go to different cities in the north of Russia and in the Siberia, and she has a sort of a position. She calls herself the first tundra blogger, and this first tundra blogger is actively writing about the distant northern regions of Russia and the cares and needs of the dwellers and citizens. She is usually the first to come up with the photographs from the north of Russia. Pavel Rushak, also a remarkable person. He is now in Lefortovo, and he is now in jail. But he was in the government of Komi, responsible for the information policies. He was arrested with the previous governor and about 17 other members of the government. So about 3 years ago, he was suppressing us, he was really pressurizing us, and now he's publishing with us. He became our author while being sitting in Moscow jail. And telling us how bad the penitentiary system really is in Russia. Well, Mr. Freedom from Mari El writes about corruption. He publishes documents. Igor Olin is a teacher from Kirov region, and he is a school provost or a headmaster. Which is more or less a good story, and there is a special type of a teacher that we have teacher representation in among our authors. Natalia from Volgodonsk is usually writing about the problems of female inmates, of women in the Russian prisons. And they do information bulletins and publish the experts on our website. These are our offline events in 2017. What is important here? Apart from being online, we are not just an information resource. We are not simply we would like to be a true discussion forum, and we're trying to create and conduct seminars, not unlike this seminar here in Oxford. For the past 6 years in Syktyvkar, we have had a 2-day outreach seminar, the sort of a retreat seminar out in the nature, in the countryside. Yes, we even have speakers coming from the expert community of this school. Natalia Zubarevich, a well-known economist who likes to write about Syktyvkar for seminars. So we had an excellent Kirill Rogov, also an expert of the school. We are also having a similar retreat seminar in Kirov region, seminars dedicated to the freedom of information, blog tours. We also have what we call blog tours. We are collecting and convening bloggers asking to talk on ad hoc topics such as, for instance, the conflict of the Vala monastery with the local population, or the conflict between the environmentalists and in Voronezh with the structures which are willing to start nickel works in this region. So this is our Syktyvkar retreat, seminars, people coming, putting tents. This is Kirill Rogov having his lecture, so it's very informal, really. Master classes. We had one other project I would like to tell you very briefly about, which was a media burger project. That's how we called it. We understood that competition for the sake of competition doesn't have much value. So it was important to bring some of the most illustrious authors to Syktyvkar and have like a 2-day discussion to talk more about content than the form. What's in the center in the focus of attention? We are doing multimedia seminars. We have, by the way, done some video clips filmed from drones. To awards. We got 2 awards last year in Russia. 2 Misty Media awards, shortlist of the profession, the Journalist Award, and what is important here to us is how we work with colleagues who are not a part of our team, for instance. Often we have some adequate journalists coming to us who work in governmental or pro-government mass media. And such journalists who fail to publish some text in the governmental mass media, and then they turn to us. And often there are cases when we find out that colleagues have been banned from writing on a specific subject, and then we may start our own investigation. And if you're, say, a documentary photographer and you have some pictures or photos, and if you can explain why you have decided to cover a specific topic, but if you can't publish your photos in press, you may turn to us, and we would be publishing these, of course, considering this for publication. Well, and then, of course, you can also start a blog and publish whatever you wish. We will submit these presentation to the Telegram chat, and you may download all, follow any of these links. But let me just say just a few more words about how we interact with some journalists from the pro-government media. This is the Uchta Group investigation, and I told some colleagues about it. It's a developer who is currently building a big residential complex in Pietrozavodsk in violation of environmental norms. One Pietrozavodsk journalist has prepared an excellent material with replete with photos and data, but their TV channel is not in a position to broadcast this because that very developer is one of their advertisers. So the lady, this young lady journalist, came to us. And we're not related to the Uchta Group, and we published this material, so you may follow this link. The second interesting story here in Kostroma, in the town of Kostroma, there is the Ipatiev Monastery dispute. It's a historically very significant site and a very great appetizer for the local real estate developers who lumbered down a piece of forest, and none of the Kostroma news media could write about this. We were told that if that we should send an inquiry for the lumbering down of this forest, and we published the response, and we are really the only in Kostroma who has managed to write about this. And Maxim already told about the authors project or the expert community.